Few novels probe the human mind like Fyodor Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. At the center of the story is Rodion Raskolnikov, a young man torn between intellectual theories and moral reality. He believes himself capable of extraordinary acts, guided by reason rather than feeling, but reality quickly challenges his philosophical ideas. What makes this novel weird, fascinating, and enduringly strange is Dostoevsky's focus not only on actions, but on the intricate psychological and spiritual torment that follows. Raskolnikov experiences extreme mental shifts, feverish hallucinations, and obsession over morality, creating a story that's as much about the inner mind as external society. In today's video, we will explore 20 of the weirdest, strangest, and most mind-bending facts about crime and punishment. Let's go. Fact 20. Dostoevsky's personal struggle. Dostoevsky wrote Crime and Punishment while struggling with severe financial and health problems. He had recently returned from Siberian exile, where he spent years imprisoned for political activity. The author's personal experiences with poverty, despair, and moral questioning heavily influenced Raskolnikov's inner torment. The intensity of the character's psychological dilemmas mirrors Dostoevsky's own struggles with gambling addiction, social alienation, and existential doubts. Some critics argue that this personal struggle gives the novel its distinctive weirdness. Raskolnikov's alternating confidence and self-loathing, his fevered thoughts and obsessive reasoning, reflect a mind caught between logic and mania. The blurred boundary between philosophical theory and emotional reality makes the reader constantly question what is sane, moral, or inevitable. In this way, the novel's strangeness is partly autobiographical, showing how Dostoevsky projected his own mental oscillations into his fiction. Fact 19. Psychological labyrinth. One of the most unusual aspects of Crime and Punishment is its intense psychological focus. Unlike typical novels of the time, which prioritized plot or social commentary, Dostoevsky dives deeply into the mental states of his characters, especially Raskolnikov. Readers experience his paranoia, hallucinations, and obsessive reasoning almost as if they are inside his head. This narrative choice is strange because it eschews linear storytelling. Thoughts, dreams, and real events are interwoven, producing a stream of consciousness style avant la lettre. It feels chaotic and disorienting, mirroring Raskolnikov's moral confusion. Many scholars suggest this psychological labyrinth reflects Dostoevsky's fascination with moral philosophy and the human capacity for rationalization and self-deception. For readers, it creates a uniquely immersive, sometimes unsettling experience. Fact 18. Double nature. Theme. Raskolnikov embodies the double nature theme, a central but unusual element in the novel. He sees himself as both extraordinary and ordinary, capable of genius and deeply flawed morality. This internal division drives the story and contributes to its weirdness. His justifications for actions constantly clash with guilt and fear. The duality is further explored through side characters who reflect aspects of his personality. Sonia, for instance, represents compassion and self-sacrifice, the emotional mirror to Raskolnikov's intellectual detachment. This constant interplay of extremes, reason versus emotion, pride versus humility, creates a tension that feels almost surreal. It's unusual because the novel doesn't resolve these opposites neatly. Instead, it lets the reader navigate the moral and psychological paradox themselves. Fact 17. Obsession with philosophy. Raskolnikov is obsessed with theories of morality, crime, and social hierarchies. He studies philosophical texts obsessively, trying to justify actions that break societal laws. His thoughts often spiral into extreme abstract reasoning, creating passages that feel dense, almost cryptic, yet profoundly revealing of his inner struggle. This philosophical obsession adds to the book's strangeness. While most novels depict crime through external consequences, Crime and Punishment explores how ideas can themselves become dangerous when detached from emotion. Raskolnikov's intellectual flights produce tension and confusion, and the reader is drawn into this moral experiment, questioning where rationality ends and obsession begins. Fact 16. Urban isolation symbolism. The novel's setting, St. Petersburg, is itself strangely oppressive. Dostoevsky portrays the city as cramped, noisy, and suffocating, mirroring Raskolnikov's mental confinement. The streets, alleys, and overcrowded apartments emphasize alienation and social pressure. This urban claustrophobia is unusual in literature at the time, as cities were often described in romantic or neutral terms. Here the city becomes a character, almost conspiratorial, shaping thought, action, and guilt. The psychological impact of the environment amplifies the story's weird tension, making the city's physical spaces a reflection of moral and emotional complexity. Fact 15. Dream sequences, mystery. Raskolnikov experiences several intense and bizarre dreams throughout the novel. They are vivid, disorienting, and often symbolic, blending reality and imagination. For example, a dream about a mayor being beaten parallels his philosophical justification for extraordinary people and their perceived moral superiority. These sequences are unusual because they interrupt narrative flow, yet convey key themes. They illustrate the conflict between intellect and morality, and reveal unconscious fears and guilt. Dostoevsky's use of dream logic, where events feel hyperreal yet impossible, adds a weird, almost surreal texture to the novel. Fact 14. Exploration of punishment. The title itself suggests a legal focus, but the novel explores punishment in highly unusual ways. Most of Raskolnikov's suffering comes from guilt, isolation, and mental turmoil, rather than law enforcement. Dostoevsky examines internal punishment, how conscience, fear, and self-reflection can be harsher than any external penalty. This psychological lens on punishment was innovative for its time. Instead of presenting moral lessons through trial and punishment alone, Dostoevsky explores the mind as a moral tribunal. Readers experience the slow erosion of rationalization under the weight of ethical consequence, making the novel strangely intense and intellectually challenging. Fact 13. Characters as moral mirrors. Dostoevsky populates the story with eccentric side characters, each reflecting aspects of Raskolnikov's personality. Sonia's compassion, Svidrigailov's moral ambiguity, and Razumikin's optimism all contrast with Raskolnikov's intellectual coldness. This design is unusual because it externalizes inner struggle. Rather than narrating feelings abstractly, Dostoevsky creates real characters who embody parts of Raskolnikov's conscience. These mirrors heighten the novel's tension and give readers multiple lenses through which to view morality, making the psychological drama richer and sometimes unsettlingly strange. Fact 12. Religious symbolism, subtlety. Though a central theme, religious elements in the novel are presented subtly and in psychological ways. Christianity, confession, and redemption are threaded through Raskolnikov's internal dialogue and interactions, often appearing in dream sequences or philosophical debate rather than overt preaching. This approach is unusual because morality and religion are integrated into the fabric of thought rather than external dogma. Readers encounter faith as lived experience, anxiety, and intellectual struggle. The subtle weaving of theology into internal psychological conflict contributes to the book's complex, eerie feel. Fact 11. Fragmented narrative style. Dostoevsky often breaks conventional narrative flow, moving between third-person narration, first-person thought immersion, and fragmented dialogue. These abrupt shifts produce disorientation and mirror Raskolnikov's mental instability. This style is strange because it contrasts sharply with the orderly narratives common in mid-19th century literature. It immerses readers into the chaotic thought process of the protagonist, giving a near-cinematic sense of moral and mental turbulence. Fact 10. Exploration of morality. Extremes. Raskolnikov theorizes that extraordinary individuals can transcend moral laws. This concept is explored in ways both intellectual and disturbing. Readers are forced to confront philosophical reasoning that challenges conventional morality. The weirdness lies in the novel's refusal to resolve this fully. Dostoevsky neither fully endorses nor rejects Raskolnikov's theory, instead illustrating the human cost of such abstract rationalizations through psychological and social consequences. Fact 9. Mental and physical illness blend. Raskolnikov's suffering is both mental and physical. Fever, exhaustion, and illness intertwine with obsession, anxiety, and guilt. Dostoevsky emphasizes this blurred boundary between bodily and psychological states. The strangeness comes from how illness is described in tandem with moral questioning. Physical decay mirrors ethical disintegration, producing an unusual, immersive way to experience human weakness and fragility. Fact 8. Time perception distortion. Throughout the novel, Raskolnikov experiences distorted perceptions of time. Hours can feel like minutes, and events unfold in feverish sequences or sluggish contemplation. This contributes to the novel's weirdness by immersing readers in a subjective reality. Time becomes a tool for psychological exploration, showing how mental states can warp ordinary experience, a literary technique ahead of its time. Fact 7. Complex social observation. While primarily psychological, the novel also contains strange, precise social observations. Dostoevsky describes poverty, wealth, bureaucracy, and street life in minute detail, often juxtaposing them with Raskolnikov's philosophical musings. These contrasts feel jarring yet intentional. The realistic depictions of city life clash with the protagonist's abstract thoughts, creating an unusual narrative rhythm that underscores alienation and moral dissonance. Fact 6. Blending fact and fiction. Dostoevsky often blurs historical and social reality with imaginative narrative. References to St. Petersburg streets, government, and society anchor the novel, but the extreme psychological detail creates a surreal overlay. The unusual combination makes the book feel both authentic and dreamlike. Readers are constantly negotiating reality and fiction, a hallmark of the novel's psychological experimentation. Fact 5. Philosophical influences visible. The novel shows strong influence from contemporary philosophical thought, including utilitarianism and moral absolutism. Raskolnikov's reasoning reflects debates on human value and societal law prevalent in 19th century Russia. This is unusual because the novel integrates complex philosophical discourse directly into character experience rather than external debate. Philosophy becomes lived, emotional, and sometimes terrifyingly abstract. Fact 4. Crime ambiguity. The novel's title suggests a clear criminal act, but Dostoevsky plays with ambiguity. Through fragmented narrative and subjective perception, the moral weight of crime is explored more than legal ramifications. The strangeness is in moral prioritization. Readers are challenged to weigh psychological suffering against societal punishment, creating an intellectual tension rarely seen in novels. Fact 3. Redemption. Uncertain. Unlike many moral tales, the conclusion of crime and punishment offers redemption in a tentative, ambiguous way. Raskolnikov's confession and imprisonment are steps toward moral awakening, but the journey is far from resolved. This unusual ending leaves readers in psychological limbo, emphasizing Dostoevsky's theme that internal transformation is complex, nonlinear, and deeply human. Fact 2. Experimental dialogue characters often speak in overlapping thought patterns and incomplete sentences, reflecting inner anxiety and social pressure. Dialogue conveys both social expectation and psychological depth simultaneously. This stylistic choice was unusual for the time and adds an eerie, immersive quality. Readers must interpret meaning through inference, heightening the book's psychological intensity. Fact 1. A novel about conscience. Ultimately, Crime and Punishment is a novel about conscience rather than crime. Its weirdest aspect is that readers may feel more disturbed by ethical questioning and mental torment than any external event. Dostoevsky's genius lies in making guilt, philosophy, and existential questioning vividly real, creating a story that is intellectually unsettling and emotionally profound. Closing remarks. Crime and Punishment remains one of literature's most psychologically intense and morally complex works. It challenges readers to engage with the human mind, morality, and social reality, offering no easy answers and no neat conclusions. Whether you find it disturbing, intellectually thrilling, or hauntingly strange, its depth and innovation continue to resonate across generations. If you've watched this entire video, you've explored 20 of the most fascinating, weirdest, and thought-provoking aspects of this timeless masterpiece. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of literature's most profound psychological explorations, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content exploring the intersections of literature, psychology, and human morality.